As the new Star Wars trilogy continues to be produced, I feel it necessary to bare my soul. In 2015, I was at a coworker's wedding, and before dinner, I was talking to two grumpy Gregs who admitted they weren't excited for J.J. Abrams' newest installment in the Star Wars saga. I begrudgingly continued the conversation and placated their dismal remarks. Then I asked them what they thought about the prequels, the dreaded prequels that everyone seems to universally despise and crap on. They told me they hated them. Even Revenge of the Sith, I asked? They both replied they hated that one too. I retreated, not wanting to get into an argument at a wedding, although it's a fight I've been fighting ever since 2004. Not just with others, but with myself. Are the prequels really that bad? Sure. The CGI is a mess, and Jar Jar is miserable. But do they deserve so much hate? I really want to understand where it's coming from. I really do. So I decided I'm going to analyze every Star Wars movie to find out why the prequels get so much crap. But to do that, I have to take you through my personal Star Wars journey. It definitely lends to how I feel the way I do. Let me just get this out of the way. I liked the prequels. Do I have problems with them? Sure. Do I have problems with the original trilogy? Yep. Let me explain. Around 1995, at the ripe old age of 5, my mom showed me the original trilogy. From A New Hope to Return, I was hooked. Couldn't get enough. My favorite Christmas present to this day was the X-Wing fighter toy I got. Then they announced a new trilogy was going to be released in 1999. Are you shitting me? More Star Wars movies? A prequel telling how Anakin turned to the dark side and became Darth Vader? Right on. I was 9 when The Phantom Menace came out. So for all the Star Wars movies, I saw them through the eyes of a child. That perfect age when everything is great and you don't critique anything. I saw it in theaters and loved it. Didn't even bat an eyelash at the obnoxious Jar Jar Binks. A couple of years later, Attack of the Clones came out and I was 12. I didn't love this one when it came out. Didn't even see it in theaters. Too much love story, my 12-year-old self said. Not enough pod racing. Zero pod racing, actually. Didn't see Revenge of the Sith when it came out in theaters either, but when I saw it at 14, I fell in love. This might be the best Star Wars ever, I said. Obviously, this is a blasphemous statement. A prequel better than any of the original trilogy? I'd be burned at the stake for such a comment. So I kept it to myself, and went with the crowd of prequel haters. But not anymore. It's time I strike back and explain how there is still good in the prequels, just like how there was still good in Vader. Let me take you through the films one by one. I just want to note that I recently watched all the movies with a very open mind to give myself a fresh perspective. The Phantom Menace, I have to admit, this is definitely my least favorite of the Star Wars movies. That doesn't mean I don't enjoy it. On the contrary, I really enjoy this flick. I really don't know what people were expecting. Sure, expectations were through the roof, but what didn't this movie deliver? It does everything it's supposed to do. And the pod race? Well, the pod race may be the best 15-minute sequence of the entire series. I mean, god damn, it's fun. Even launched one of the greatest N64 games of all time. Well, not really, but I had fun playing it when I was younger. Fun is an understatement, but either way. In all seriousness though, I can't stand the nitpicks about this movie. Sure, Jar Jar is the absolute worst, but his role really diminishes after the first act. When I watch him now, I get annoyed, but not any more annoyed at how annoying C-3PO could be at times. There, I said it. 3PO could be annoying at times, but Han made it funny because he was always putting him in his place. Anyways, another nitpick I never understood was crapping on Jake Lloyd. Really? He's a child actor. What were we expecting from the same kid from Jingle All the Way? The lines he was given weren't great. Am I going to ostracize an entire movie because of a child actor delivering some crappy lines incorrectly? No. Good child actors are hard to come by. People need to let go of their feelings on this one. Overall, the CGI looks really dated. It really is a shame that Lucas didn't use more practical effects, but that is going to lead me in a whole other direction if I start talking about CGI versus practical effects. Anyways, the ending of this movie is great. Sure, the Gungan battle isn't spectacular. I liken it to the end of Return. You had the space battle, the lightsaber battle, and the land battle, just like in Phantom Menace. The land battle in Return, while not as bad as the Gungan battle, was definitely the worst of the 3 battles going on. Speaking of Ewoks, and I realize I'm all over the place right now, if we want to talk about Phantom Menace trying to cater to children, then what about Return with Ewoks? I can make an argument that the whole Ewok sequence is my least favorite part of the whole series. But I digress. The climax of Phantom Menace makes the rest of the relatively slow-paced entry worthwhile. The lightsaber fight is probably the best of the series, up there with the first round of Obi-Wan vs. Anakin. These movies were meant to entertain us, and this movie does just that. If you go into anything with super high expectations and looking to criticize it, then you're going to be let down. Keep an open mind and take it for what it is. An entertaining flick. It's really not trying to be anything more. I give this one a 7 out of 10. Okay, Attack of the Clones. Some people actually think this is the worst of the series. My opinion? I like it better than Phantom, but that's about it. I still really like the story though. This is the film that introduces the dreaded Hayden Christensen. I feel bad for poor Hayden, I really do. He gets so much unwarranted hate from everybody. Why? I honestly don't think he did a bad job with the role at all. Again, the lines aren't great and his delivery has an odd cadence, but so does Ian McDiarmid's Emperor. I'm just gonna say it, I like Hayden's portrayal of Anakin. He has some good scenes, especially when he reveals to Padme about how he wanted to murder the Tusken Raiders. This may be the most powerful performance of all the movies, right up to where Luke is reacting to Vader telling him that he was his father. Sure, Hayden is over the top at times, but I'm sorry, is this a Star Wars flick? We're talking about a universe where people can shoot lightning out of their hands and move objects with their thoughts. It's a fantasy film, people, meant to entertain. If you're looking for an emotional drama with great acting, then watch a Meryl Streep movie. This is Star Wars. There's a reason why only Harrison Ford had a great acting career after the original trilogy. Other than Cushing, Jones, Guinness, and Ford, the drop-off is incredible. But wait, the prequels have Liam Neeson, Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman, Christopher Lee, and Samuel L. Well, he's kind of a bad example, but you catch my drift. I think the cast is more impressive in the prequels is my point. Ewan McGregor kills it as Obi-Wan, and Hayden, well, I really think he did a good job with the role. You really feel him slipping into insanity over the two movies. It's not an easy role to play. Other than the acting though, the rest of the movie has some really fun scenes. The chase through Coruscant, the fight between Jango and Obi-Wan, the chase following that scene, Anakin finding his mother, all leading up to the climactic battle in the Colosseum. I like the mystery of the clones and Obi-Wan sleuthing. It adds more depth to the character. Is the romance between Anakin and Padme rushed? Are scenes with them over the top and campy? Yeah, sure. But the whole romance between them is key to the plot. It's what eventually turns Anakin to the dark side. I'd much rather have a couple of corny love scenes than just having them falling in love with no explanation like it's some movie from the 1940s. My biggest problem with this movie though is the CGI. It's the worst of the entire series. Way too much background CGI. Make it fucking set for Christ's sake. I can deal with objects and subjects being CGI, but when I see Ewan McGregor with a green aura around him from the green screen talking to a crappy CGI alien in a crappy CGI diner, it kinda kills it for me. You're telling me Star Wars didn't have enough money to produce a diner set? Give me a break. Overall, this movie, while darker than the previous entry, is still fun to watch and it has some great fan service with the origin story it has. I give it a 7 out of 10. And then Revenge of the Sith came on the silver screen. I didn't really have high expectations when this came out. Like I said, my 12-year-old self wasn't impressed with Attack of the Clones like I am now, but Revenge of the Sith blew me away. I couldn't say a bad thing about it. Can I find problems with it today? Sure, just like I can find problems with A New Hope or Empire Strikes Back. I still love those movies and I love this one. I can make an argument that this is my favorite of the series. It probably has the most drama and it definitely has the darkest tone. It's seriously a thrill ride from start to finish. From the space battle to rescue Palpatine, to the epic lightsaber duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan, it never lets up. Even scenes that don't have action have great character development and dramatic scenes. The one scene in particular that always comes to mind is the scene where Palpatine talks to Anakin about Darth Plagueis at the Opera House. It's so well done between the music, the sound mixing, the lighting, it creates such a macabre atmosphere. One of my favorite scenes from the franchise. The last hour and a half is amazing. The downfall of the Jedi and the younglings, and of course the scene where Anakin officially turns to the dark side by chopping off Mace Windu's arm. And of course the scene where Anakin officially turns to the dark side by chopping off Mace Windu's arm and Palpatine revealing that he's Darth Sidious. Hell, I even like the fight between Grievous and Obi-Wan. Sure, are some of people's complaints warranted with the first two movies? Absolutely. But with this movie, it definitely redeems itself from those mistakes. The CGI looks good. Maybe not by today's standards as the medium is always being improved upon, but I'm not distracted by it like I was in Phantom and especially like in Attack of the Clones. This movie ties everything together so great. Even after watching it for the upteenth time, I still am blown away by the epicness of it. The last shot where Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru look at the two sunsets on Tatooine is such a great lead into A New Hope. This is the movie that we wanted, and is right on par with episode 4 and 5. I give it a 9 out of 10. Okay, A New Hope, the one that started it all. I really can't say anything bad about this movie. It's just classic. It has nostalgia for me, like I'm sure it does for everyone. Does the added CGI in the 1999 re-release look stupid and out of place? Yeah. And is it unnecessary? Well, mostly. The addition of the scene with Jabba and Han I think is an integral piece that was missing from the original trilogy. The CGI looks like absolute dog shit, but I'm glad this was included as it adds a much needed scene that reveals how in debt Han really is to Jabba, instead of a quick little scene with Greedo then nothing till Boba Fett arrives at the end of Empire Strikes Back. This movie is special to me, as is the entire original trilogy. I give it a 9 out of 10. Okay, Empire Strikes Back. When I first saw this one as a kid, it was my least favorite, before I saw the prequels of course. But now, if I'm being honest, This is probably my favorite of the franchise. It has that darker tone that I prefer, while still having great fun. Just like Revenge of the Sith had. From the infamous Battle of Hoth to the introspective swamp of Dagobah to the beauties of Bespin, this entry is just eye candy. And who can forget Lando, the coolest character in the series? It was definitely a disappointment that he wasn't in The Force Awakens, but we can still hold out for the rest of the new movies. Anyways, I just love the pacing of this movie. Even without all the action, it still draws me in, like the Death Star pulling in the Millennium Falcon in with its tractor beam. The dramatic climax with Luke and Vader is legendary, and I really love the over-the-top reaction from Luke. In fact, I take that back. I would probably have the same reaction. It's absolutely Hamill's best performance in this series. I give it a 9 out of 10. Return of the Jedi. Now this one is a mixed bag for me. Nostalgia is definitely a saving grace when it comes to my opinion on it. When I watch the first two acts now, Tatooine being the first act and the Ewoks being the second act, I'm honestly just bored. Compared to the pacing and action of the first two movies, this one just drags at times. Ewoks are lame. I'm just gonna say it. They're lame. Just as lame as the Gungans and Jar Jar. Aside from the fights on Jabba's sand barge and the exciting speeder chase through Californian forests, the first 2/3 of this movie aren't that great. That's why I get so confused with how this film gets so revered while the prequels get shit on. Return just doesn't hold up as well as the first two movies. The third act, however, the third act is just fucking amazing and it makes the whole movie worthwhile. I get so jacked up for the Battle of Endor, it's embarrassing. I'm instantly 7 years old again as soon as all the rebel ships come out of hyperspace. As I said before, I'm not a huge fan of the Ewok battle, but whatever, it is what it is and it's integral to the plot, so I can find enjoyment in it. The space battle though is so good, especially when the stakes are raised when the Death Star is revealed to be fully operational. And of course, the final duel between Luke, Vader, and the Emperor is just epic. I love when Luke gets so amped up that he just starts bashing Vader with his saber. It's just a thrill to watch that redeems the first two acts of the film. I give this movie an 8 out of 10. So are the prequels on a whole as good as the originals? I don't think so. The third one is awesome. I'll take that one to the grave, but I can definitely understand why people had problems with Phantom and Clones. What I don't see is why they are universally hated. Especially Revenge of the Sith. Did we watch the same movie? How can I like something so much and others hate it so much? I don't get it. And you know what? I don't need to anymore. I have my opinions and I feel lucky because I can enjoy more Star Wars movies, while others, who are honestly probably just going with the crowd, can only enjoy the original 3. If you guys agree with me, let me know, or if you disagree with me, I'm sure you're definitely going to let me know in the comments below. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. Have a good day, and may the Force be with you.